Hello, everybody, and welcome to Podcast the Motion Picture. It's Reed, Cole, Engen, and Noah all together again at last. After having wrapped principal photography on Minnesota Nice the movie. Here we are. Minnesota Nice the movie, a Minnesota-based movie for anybody, really. It's a movie about a few guys who get together after a long hiatus of not spending time together up at a cabin. They go there, have themselves a grand old time. They're good friends. Dylan and Helen need to work their way up there as well. And essentially, they get themselves with their foot caught in a problematic situation. Do our heroes survive? Find out in Minnesota Nice. So, yeah, we just wrapped everybody, for those of you just joining us here today, on a movie production we've been working on for several months in pre-production, and we filmed it over this last weekend here, I suppose 3 days worth. And anyway, a good time. I'm glad we took 3 days on it. I gotta say, I know in the past we considered 2 days, and like, I don't think that would have happened quite like that. But we did it. We did it. There's still some stuff that needs to be picked up film wise. That's just not possible to do in that one weekend because of locations. But yeah, everybody, I guess, as well, before we lose anybody, Minnesota Nice, we're going to talk about it. For those of you listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you should hop on to the YouTube because in this episode, as we talk about stuff, if I've got a photograph or an image of these things we talk about, I'm going to put it on the YouTube here. All right, just a still image. I won't put any video, just a still image. So that way you can kind of see what we're looking at. For those of you like, oh, what did production look like? Well, you'll have a chance to see it. Um, yeah, anyway, to my fellow co-hosts, what were you guys' thoughts? Oh, I guess I should also say there's a link below with some of the stuff as well if you're trying to follow this. More details down below. Big link, you'll see it. What are your fellows' thoughts on this? How'd we do? We do okay? Did a movie get made? Huh? Do you think we've got enough? Cole got scared actually. He's so in full doubt. He actually blacked his screen out. I saw a shadow move across his forehead, so I'm thinking he's probably dead. Guys, go ahead. Say your thoughts before I call this guy unprofessional. Go ahead.
So last time Minne Movies production studio was in full force was in the winter of 2019. So over 6 years
Yeah.
until since the entire gang was working on a production together. So I was very pleased that everyone kind of, you could definitely tell that we're 6 years older working on it. So a lot more mature. Everyone's kind of less goofing around, really focused, really wanting to get this thing made and put together. And everyone worked very well together. I was very pleased. Um, Everyone was just had that goal oriented of getting this thing done because we all
Hmm.
knew we were on a time crunch, just like all productions are.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let the others speak again, of course. I won't just hold the talk and take. But dude, I gotta agree. We came out of the gate running. My thought when we started was, acting wise, Noah, I think, said it's like riding a bike when we first started picking up shots of Welsh doing some lines. And Welsh kind of took a two takes. It was kind of back in it. And so that was my concern was all our acting. And I did notice with everybody, it took about one line, two line. Everybody was like that. And what you said, Engen, is a little bit more accurate of what I should have been worried about, how well we were going to work together coming back onto a production. Went off pretty darn well. Like everybody kind of hopped into roles. And I got to say, I think we worked better together than ever on a movie, than these past productions. We were there. You
Yep,
other two,
and that's all due to having great leadership at the top. Reed, writer, director,
Zach
really.
Engen, executive producer, of course. How could I not pat you right back on the back? Nah, this was, and of course, Noah and Cole were there. I'm just kidding. You guys were actually really awesome to have on there. I got some questions related to some of the stuff that we did, but I'll wait for that. But I'll say, I mean, obviously, great work to both of you. Noah, kind of leading the charge as an actor. You've always kind of set the standard for whatever reason. You just always do. And Cole, I know that from day one and for most of the day two, the shoulder was strapped up on, or the camera strapped up on your shoulder. And looking at the shots that we have, man, like you did great. Like you really nailed some of these things. And it even went so far as not only were you just getting great shots, but like I think I noticed as well, even on the day as I was looking at one of the we did a take with a really great shot. Everything went well, except the camera was out of focus. And you literally said, nah, do that again. And like you saved that shot by just saying, no, we can't take that. That's not gonna. So, God, like hot diggity dog, we nailed this production. All right. All right.
Well,
Other fellas, any thoughts?
I think that's a good thing to focus on. Like, obviously, we're not professionals. Like, we do this, we did it for fun. We're trying
Just
to do it a little bit
cause.
more professionally, but like, we're using, the equipment that we have on hands, and it takes just, someone being like that, just focused and in the moment to realize these small things that, you
Mhm.
know, that we're not specifically trained to notice and to do, but we're, doing what we can and making the work to the best we can. So
Yeah.
we're all excited to see how it turns out.
Yeah, and we had a lot of people step up too. Newcomer to the mini movies, Atticus Hodges genuinely was sweating his ass off, like getting some of these shots for us and working hard, and we appreciated that. We have some new actors to the production that steal the show. I'm thinking of a Connor, and I'm thinking of an Andrew. I mean, they were such a delight to have on. And yeah, it's sometimes I dread acting. I don't particularly like seeing myself on screen, but I also really enjoy doing it. Like once I get over the hump of like, yeah, this is what I'm doing now. Yeah, it's such a blast to just go on and have fun with you guys and like we've been alluding to in high school we couldn't get through certain scenes without dying laughing and it would take 15 takes to maybe get an acceptable one and it wasn't like that. I mean, I'd like to know what shot took the most takes. It couldn't have been more than like 5, right? So yeah,
I,
just a well-oiled machine out there.
I think if I were going to throw out an answer to your what shot took the most takes, one of two in my mind is what it is. One would be when we were sitting on the dock or standing by the dock and Detective Somerset, played by
Yes.
Connor Lock, shows up,
Yep.
and Connor needed to get the line, I'm not an officer, and, kept missaying it.
Kept adding the and. Yeah.
And I'm not an officer. That was a really great time, even though, he was flubbing the line and we finally got it. That, or when we were at the Lutz's house filming Dylan and Helen scenes. There's a scene with Dylan and Helen and Justin in which I have this long delivery. We had a good back and forth. And I just could not quite get it, I don't think was the problem.
Well,
And
it was at like 10 p.m. after 3 full days of shooting,
on a
on
Sunday.
negative amount of sleep. So
Yeah. And in that particular scene, though, I have to deliver part of a line and then hit Emily Lutz on the shoulder. And she's sunburned. I obviously don't want to be hitting her. She's pregnant. Not that a shoulder's a long way from the uterus, but all the same. And the worst part is before we even took the first take, she went, "Can you make sure not to hit me that hard?" And boy, gee, I'm not, you know gentle of a person sometimes. But we got the tape, and so probably one of those two things. Cole, any
now,
thoughts on the big old production?
Yeah, it was pretty fun getting back into that groove. It's been a long time since I ever was a part of a production. And so I thought it was really fun just getting to hang out with all the guys again and just to be able to think through some problems that a film set, it was a real, I know I
It
might
was,
take that back. It was a real film set.
yes, it
We
was.
really tried to produce one that seemed like it had all the qualities of something that could be real. And I thought it was cool to think through a lot of those problems that presents. And I thought it was engaging and pretty fun just to work through that. And it was a nice test too. And I thought everyone was really good and behaved well and kind of just treated the subject matter very seriously, which was appreciated because as someone was saying, like Noah, like when high school would come around, on those days, like you'd just be like really, really, really just like hard to get through it because not everyone was like taking the project seriously or just laughing and stuff. So it was kind of cool to have like a balance of like people being having fun because it was obviously a fun movie, but also like being like, okay, we got to lock it, we got to get this thing done. And so I thought that was cool just to see people that were working hard in that kind of a way. And it was awesome too seeing others step up in the roles and just kind of helping throughout the process. People that were expected just to act, doing their thing, but also, stepping into other roles. Like Atticus did a great job of just grabbing that camera, and he looked like it was fit for him. Like he's the dude who will hold a camera if you need him. He literally, like, it looked like that belonged in his hands the entire time. And so I thought that was really cool seeing him get to work. And yeah, I just happy too that the weather held up. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. The weather was the scary part.
The conditions were not the easiest.
No.
Weather, heat, insects. Yeah.
Our last production that we mentioned was The Cowboys back in 2019, in which we filmed in the middle of winter and in December and into January then. And I remember some of the days were well below zero. I think we had one day that was a cold snap and the camera literally couldn't function one of the days. That's how cold it got. And I would say that production was about tied for environmental difficulties. Luckily we didn't have to deal with snow, but we had 90-degree days and high humidity, and we had, what was the UV 9 when we looked at it out on those boats?
Yeah. I was applying sunscreen on the hour and it didn't matter. So
yeah.
We also had a large thunderstorm that we had to dodge. Parts of that storm that were about an hour away from us had Category 3 hurricane level winds that ravaged the entire city. They were on a emergency response notice with trees and roofs getting blown off all over the city.
I saw.
So we had to dip and dodge out of that, and had to extend shooting another night.
Yeah.
I had on do 2 nights of filming in one night, so we were up well into the early morning, trying to catch up on that night of filming. We had to lose because we had to dodge a huge thunderstorm that ravaged northern Minnesota.
Mentioning said big storm, I gotta say, I read in the news today, Governor Walz is up in Bemidji and essentially checking things out and lending a voice and a hand to the people. And I gotta say, I'm a little bit pissed you didn't swing by the production and check on us.
Yeah.
Should have came by and said, "Hey boys, you need anything?" But whatever. That's politicians for you. All right. All right. Well, cool. So we covered kind of these big, more basic things. I guess I've got some questions here. So that's kind of how the production went. We can keep covering that ground, but I wanted to ask, people-wise, character-wise, we three of us here, Reed, Engen, Noah, played kind of main character role. Cole, I don't want to demean Hick 1 from you, but I'd say Hick 1 doesn't have quite the same depth, externally. I'm sure you wrote a big character for yourself, but
I am very, very actually insulted by that insinuation. I cannot believe you would just utter those words, Reed. You wrote the character. He is a minor character, I'll admit. He's not a major character, but there is so much depth and soul and wit that I provide that character. I cannot believe you would even say demean. It was not demeaning at all. You would say that. That character.
We'll save the Hick 1 story for the director's commentary. We'll hold on. I don't want to give that away for free.
He is so essential to this film. Him and Hick 1 and Hick 2. I mean,
you need him.
Seriously, the movie would not have happened. But just genuinely, I actually. Subjective. I believe this is the story of Hick 1 and Hick 2.
It's their movie.
Yeah, Hick's
okay. It's their movie.
We got to keep moving on as much as I do want to cover the great ground of Hick 1 and Hick 2. But we've got these 4 main characters of Kyle, Gordon, Justin, and Gunderson. Gunderson, played by our friend and sometimes co-host Jack Welshinger, is not on the podcast today. So all today we have me, who played Justin, Noah, who played Kyle, and Engen, who played Gordon. Let's see. Noah, why don't you hop in first? Tell us a little bit about this character Kyle and where he fits into the story. Who's he for? What's he represent? What's he do? Why would a person watching this movie say, "Yeah, I get Kyle"? What's to get?
Kyle is not maybe as silly as some characters I've played in the past. I don't know if he's the straight man, but he's a sports writer. He's at odds with his roommate, played by known asshole Atticus, and like I don't know, Kyle's there to have a good time, but he's coming from maybe not the happiest home life anymore. He reconnects with Justin in a big way. He's all about not wanting to give up when things get hard. I recall a scene where I really rally us to solve some sort of case. Kyle's there to have a good time, but there might be a bit of sadness behind those eyes. And let's not forget, diehard Minnesota Twins fan, so there is sadness behind his eyes.
All righty, well, good deal. That's a type of character I would actually want to see in other movies as well. So that you might have more, I gotta say you got a lot of range, but we may have your niche. And Mr. Zach Engen, tell us about Gordon,
Gordon,
Bicyclonius, if you will.
yeah, Gordon is much like the other leads, as in uh, he's very much looking forward to this get together weekend with the rest of the gang. Uh, he, like, unlike the others, has gone on a long, strenuous journey to get to this cabin for this get together. And due to the distance that he's had to cover and the immense amount of endurance that he's had to have to soon recover from once he's at the cabin, he has a much more um, pleasant kind of vibe, and he's much more appreciative of the of everyone else kind of coming together at that time. So he just has a large appreciation because he's gone through so much distance to get here this weekend.
He most certainly not just through the writing, but the way you deliver your lines in this and the way you kind of bring him to life is he is a pleasant fellow, I guess. I'd say out of the four guys, if I were stuck with any one of the four guys, he's probably the guy I'd want to be with because the other guys aren't mean, but they're very, sharp with what they have to say. And not that Gordon's not, but he's very patient with everybody.
Mhm.
So
He's patient and grounded
yeah.
in the moment. Yeah.
I'll say, yeah, for my character, Justin. Noah, you said this was kind of a groundbreaking role, I suppose, because it's a bit different for you from other roles. I guess Justin's hard for me to kind of put a spin on, and that when I started writing this script, well, I guess when Noah and I picked up the script for the first time, we started writing it together, and we came to the characters. We kind of, nobody's really, I don't say anybody plays himself. They certainly don't. That's not who these characters are. But they definitely kind of begin with what is everybody capable of. We didn't want to put any of the actors way out of their range, except for Cole, who somehow delivered with Hick one. So anyway, when it came to Justin, as per everybody, it was what can be believable. And then we kind of pushed the bounds and pushed the bounds and pushed the bounds. And as time went on, I kind of tried to twist Justin myself into being what's missing from the other characters, what elements in storytelling is not really quite there for them. And to me, Justin's kind of more he's a loud and obnoxious guy out of all of them, but not in some like way where you're like, oh God, he's loud. He just is a lot. He's very an abrupt person compared to I think the other three fellas. Not in some boisterous gonna kick down your front doorway, but I feel like Justin. I got a lot of energy when I played him, and I felt like I couldn't really let that energy die down no matter the scene. Um, maybe there were some quiet scenes here or there, and like I think maybe I did a good job of it then, but I don't know. It was hard to keep him bottled up. He kind of wanted to explode outward. But
Hence why
anyway,
you kept hitting Emily so
hence
hard
why I
more.
kept having to hit Emily. That was what the character called for. But you guys did a good job. Who is he more than just loud and boisterous? He is down on his luck lately in a way. He's unemployed. His girlfriend's left him, and he's living in the basement of his friends, Dylan and Helen, who help organize this whole get together. And through this weekend, he kind of, he doesn't really have a sense of his situation. Like he knows that he's not on top of the world, but like that doesn't bug him. That's not who he is. He's just happy to be alive. But all the same, through the story of this weekend, he kind of does get a new leaf on, being worth a little bit more than just having a good time. So that's something I really liked having in the movie. Um, I really appreciate characters that kind of grow beyond their situation. So I think that's kind of what he got to do, which was nice. That's not a role I've ever gotten to really do, I don't think. Um, Anyway, but moving on from that, again, we got to hold off on Hick 1 commentary. We'll save that. That's where we make our money back. All right. I've got some more direct questions here. I guess I'll go down kind of more targeting not each and every one of us, but more the positions that we have. So let me go ahead. We just talked about characters, so we'll take a break. Cole, let me give you a chance here. I got a couple questions for you. Cole, you did have a role in this movie, and you were very good. But taking aside a step back from that, you, as mentioned, were a very quality cameraman. You very much picked up that, and where I do agree that, Atticus had this natural ability to just snap around and whatnot. Like, man, you came to play. You stood on business, as it were. I believe is the professional term. So, taking that step back, you managed to film just about everything on day one. Well, I think you did film everything day one, maybe other than dropping it for one shot or two. But in day two as well, you also filmed probably about half of everything because then Atticus eventually picked it up. So you were covering so much ground. How did it feel being the leading cameraman for so much of this during a time of reignition for our Minne Movies productions? What was that like?
It was really kind of fun to get a new experience because I typically am not the guy that's physically holding the camera when it comes to making these kinds of projects. In fact, I don't think I ever have had a single credit of being a cameraman. And so getting the capture, the kind of new fire and ignition of Minne Movies and these projects with these boys here, it was pretty fun just to kind of view it through the lens of the camera. It was a really good challenge just to be able to learn this kind of equipment. And it was fun to try and imagine how the people and the actors should be positioned in the scene. It was kind of fun just to brainstorm, like, how can we make this shot of like dialogue look interesting? What kind of things do we need in order to have really a fruitful editing of the film? And so that was a lot of things that were going through my brain when I was behind the camera. I was like, okay, well, we probably need a shot of like this, need a shot of that. Oh, would it be interesting if they did this in this scene, or would it be cool if it was shot this certain angle? And so that was pretty fun, and it was cool because I was applying I have no professional skills whatsoever when it comes to this camera work. I have no professional experience. I'm only applying what I think it's supposed to be like, and so in what I've seen in movies, and so just relying on kind of those skills, and then also the collaborating with you as well as the other actors on the scene was pretty fun. And so would I ever want to be, I'm going to answer this, would I ever want to be a cameraman again? Maybe. I think I found something that would be really fun to maybe practice. But certainly coming up with composition of shots and kind of just tackling those challenges that were presented in the moment were pretty fun. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my answer to your question.
Cool. I gotta say, like, yeah, absolutely. I know, like, none of us really have like a professional background in this kind of stuff. I mean, we just are very much self-taught, and what have we picked up on watching movies? Maybe what videos have we seen? Like, if we're curious, I guess, not to brag, I do have, some accreditation in film studies. Anyway, jokes aside, you filming stuff when I look back, I mentioned this fish shot, this infamous shot that kind of sells the movie, if you will. I kind of learned a lesson. I guess what I know from how to put things on camera and whatnot, like one basic element of art is composition and how things are on there, what things are on there, like how to position and whatnot. So that's kind of where my mind goes. And I think I have a shot of Detective Somerset, played by Connor LaRock, in which he is, maybe about on this 1/3 line of the screen, and he's kind of blocking where trees meet sky. And on one side of him, you have this open sky and trees. And I thought, well, that's fantastic. You have these two different things, an open area behind him and nothing but crowded trees in front of him. I thought that's great. And then when you did that thing with the fish, I thought, wait a minute now. It's not just about composition behind them, but what about what's in front of them? How do we box the viewer into this world and take up what their eyes are going to see? Like, God, I learned a lesson that day. That was good. I'm glad I even caught that. All right. Well, Cole, another question for you. As the head camera honcho of the day one and day two, um, who do you think when we film this? This isn't a film camera related question. This is more just about the movie. Who do you think that this movie affects, if somebody were going to sit down, like what part of their soul do you think this movie is going to play on? You know?
Like as a member of the audience.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Who would, not just like, oh, it's for drunk teenagers, like, every movie's for a drunk teenager. But like what part of a person is this movie appealing to? Good nature, bad nature, more specific, I suppose.
I think the tone of the movie is fairly humorous. So I think when you sit down and watch it, and you're kind of watching the story of these characters unfold, I think it's tickling that part of your brain where you're like, hey, this is fun, this is lighthearted, this is a good tone. And I think the visuals help kind of convey that. There's nothing that's too like dramatic or stark or dark with how you presented the characters in the story. And so I think that's communicated through just how the film is shot. And so I think when you're experiencing the movie, you're kind of gonna feel like this kind of light tone, and just you're gonna feel kind of happy. You're gonna feel happy when you watch the movie, I think, is what the overall tone should be, because the characters are fun, they're silly, they have a wacky adventure, and I think in the end, I think you're supposed just to take away this kind of lighthearted fun movie, and I think the visuals help convey that.
I hope so too. Yeah, there's definitely, yeah, like, there are some moments where it's, solid. There's things happening, but like through it all, like they never really break away from like, most importantly, whatever happens, let's just have a good time. And so I hope that's what they take away. So my last question for you before I start shooting shots at the other fellows. Regardless of how the final draft of this film looks, would you want to have worked on this production again?
But yeah, of course. Like it was fun. I think when you reflect on it now that it's completed, you wonder about all the things that you could do differently, or all the things you could do if you had more time. And I think there's a great challenge again still. I think the final product, when it's all put together, will still be very good. But it's really cool to make you think about in reflection about like, okay, what can I learn so that if they ever do a project again, which can you apply for that one? And
Mhm.
so on.
I totally agree, dude. All day I was at work, I was just thinking about this and that and all the little, nothing that the movie's going to necessarily miss, but definitely things that are in the future. It's like that's going to happen, like in terms of how to up the quality of what we've got and how to pull on different thoughts and heartstrings. Like these are the steps that we need to include next time because not because we need to, but because we can. All right. Hopping on to the next fella here, I guess let's go to executive producer Zachary Engen here. Um, let's see here. Mr. Engen, where do you feel in the production we were at our most productive? What do you think we were really not only, I guess, two versions of this question. When were we moving at our best, as well as what were we doing the best? Or perhaps that's one and the same. Probably not the Probably not the boat scenes, I would say. Um, Definitely not
Really?
moving.
I
We
kind of
did.
thought of the boat scenes
We did. No,
as
no.
like
Listen. I guess.
impressive.
I guess impressive wise, the boat scenes are very impressive. That whoever
Yeah,
whoever the heck brought up the Spielberg never do a movie on water. Yeah, maybe a
right.
little bit. I guess you're right, but it was fine. I only bring it up because we had it took a long time. Is why I bring it up. But we got good work out of. I think what could have been a whole day's work trying to do that in the past.
Mhm. I think where we do best work is when you know, we're mostly comedic, right? Like Cole said, it's a humorous tone, lighthearted tone. So we're at our best when there's multiple people on camera, there's multiple people behind the camera helping organize the shot, um, choreograph how actors are going to be moving in the shot, helping set props to, like you said, kind of you know, block or fill in the space appropriately. So whenever those people are in front of the camera, being allowed to be that lighthearted comedic tone, they're able to use physical comedy as well, and maybe other props to help kind of communicate that through the lens. I think that's when we're at our best, is when you have those people being able to do, what they do best, and people behind them helping, from a third eye to help kind of build that in front of the camera.
Yeah, I do. It's the way everybody acted on the, well, not acted, but the way the crew got together to piece things together as a team. Yeah, we were a unit for sure. Now, do you think with what we did and what this story is, do you think we told an important story? Do you think this movie, do you think what we say and what happens, do you think it matters? You know?
Like a very intelligent character in the story says, everything matters to everyone. So I do think, that's the beauty of art, right? Is that it can affect anybody, anyone and everybody differently as well. So someone, can and will attach to the different thematic elements and what we show and express inside of it. So I do think it's important. It's important for us, right? We're doing what we want to do. We're building towards, what we want to be doing. So it's definitely important in that aspect. But I think people will watch it and be like, and find the importance of what we're showing, especially in our community. With we're highlighting in northern Minnesota and what that's all about. So
I think to tack on to that and to also pair Mr. Cole Brainard's answer about this movie kind of gives off happiness is where obviously this it's not going to make you think so much like a Whiplash or a Schindler's List, but to use the latter in Schindler's List, you tell this whole 3 hour long tragic story where they really push upon you the sadness of all of this, even with the outcome of the war's over. Whereas in terms of this movie, obviously, it's not a sad movie, it's a happy one. At the end of it all, like we really try to push onto you the happiness, regardless of the end of the situation. So, I do think we have elements that every other movie does have. So I think, yeah, I think there will be something for everyone. I think everybody has something to do with everyone. Now, a last question for you. What was most surprising to you on the set? I have no specification. What surprised you? And don't say somebody jumping out of a bush.
I don't know if it's a surprise, but I was most impressed, Reed, by you and being able to go from scene to scene and shot to shot, each character's line, how to, you know, how you helped, kind of form different lines together and, connect shots between the different characters. I mean, this is over a 60-page script that we're filming in 3 days outside with, non-professional, um, crew. So it takes all day, every day to get this done, and there is no time to really think about how you want to be able to build these scenes together. So you were on top of your game, knowing what you wanted, knowing how these lines need to be delivered, knowing how these people needed to move in the different spaces in the shots. So there's no way I could have done that in that amount of time. So I was very impressed by that leadership that you showed. So
Well,
we
thank you,
appreciate you
dude.
and thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate all of that you said. I also do appreciate you leading with it's not a surprise. Thank you for that as well. I was really surprised at how you did, No, thank you, man. I gotta say, I definitely I feel like this was sitting in the director's chair. This was the best I've ever done in terms of keeping clear and not really trying to throw a million things at people. I guess I learned a lesson as well in terms of what not to do. I got a chuckle. Andy taught me a lesson because he started ripping on me when we were in the boats because I fed him a line. And then he said, say it again. And I fed him a different line because I changed it. And I thought, nah, I'd be better this way. And I didn't even say that. And he goes, say it again because you just gave me 2 lines. And then I got to check about, okay, I just got to feed everybody their exact line and don't worry about changing it. If they think it's better, they will do it for me and it will
Yep.
come natural. I don't need to try to do their part. So I actually learned a very valuable lesson. Anyway, but I gotta say, my ability to have directed did get better. Everybody's ability to be present and commit to things and not just, go through and follow and listen and be where they need to be, but also to also put their foot down on a spot and not in some angry way, but to put their foot down and say, well, actually, what if we did this? Like, I got a lot of ideas just off of everybody. Sometimes we were able to say, like, we have a transition shot where Cole got, he brought up, hey, how about we, reach in, grab the beer, throw it, you catch it, pull it down, and like that's the transition. And it was like, that's an amazing idea. And just like that, now we're able to keep on moving. And because we're all talking about things, we get the best of what we get. So I'm very happy.
Collaboration.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that makes 3 questions for you, my man.
Sure was.
Tapping on, carrying on. Okay, last of our fellows here at Wimbledon, we've got Mr. Noah the Swan Lane. I had another nickname for you, but I'm forgetting what it was. Did I call you? I called you
Scatman?
No, Scatman. I came up with one just over the last couple days, I think.
Red Baron?
Not Red Baron. That is a funny one.
The Gollum statue?
Not the Gollum statue. You are all of these things, of course.
Yep.
But it was Noah something Lane, and it was like an accurate. I think it started with the letter B. All right, anyway, moving on to the actual thing. Noah, what was it like acting on such a legitimate production after so many years? And I have a follow-up, What was it like?
There's a little more pressure. Like, me, I'm kind of maybe a dickhead a bit when it comes to filming things. Like, if you give me a line and I don't like the way you say it to me, you'll say action and I'll like way overact it, stuff like that. I remember, God, what was it called? The movie we shot in your garage that was like a Matrix homage.
Rogue Program, I think.
Yeah, like that one, I was like going out of my way to just like really energetic, silly ass performance. And we have the Come Sail Away into the Woods where I'm playing a high school stoner, and we have our treat movies where my character in that is way over the top. He just wants his king size candy bar. This one, I was like, no, like you give me the line, I'm gonna try to get this in one take. And like that was kind of my mindset going in. I hope that didn't hinder my performance at all. Like I still tried to be funny or be sincere or be loud or be energetic when it called for it. But yeah, I definitely felt the pressure. Like I'm not messing around. I'm getting this like as quick as possible so we can move on to the next thing.
I'll say in previous productions, I guess you've always done a good job. Certainly when it comes to comedy, you always manage to nail comedy. I mean, we all do a great job when it comes to comedy. You always nail it. And when it comes to the serious lines, you always have done a good job. And, everybody might have a line here or there that doesn't come across as well, but it's never noticeable and it always feeds into the next. So it keeps working all the same. In the past, we've had serious moments and you've definitely done a great job. But I know when we've been filming those, I've thought in my head in the past, is this going to work out? Like I have full confidence that everything's going to go together and we've done our job and all the stuff's there. But I just think emotionally, I'm like, God, I don't know if I'm sold on this. When we were filming this production, every single line that you had, other than maybe a take where it just didn't get delivered quite the proper way, which happens, but everything that we stuck with and where I was like, yeah, that's good. And I mean this really for just about everybody. Well, I guess I do mean this for everybody. We wouldn't move on if we didn't have a thing, but I really mean it. After every time I felt we had your line, I was like, I'm not even worried. We do not need to think about it. When this goes up on the editing block, like we have it. Like I'm going to be happy to hear that line again. So you did phenomenal. Now, I actually have a little bit of a follow-up to that same question. So I call this legitimate production. Now, our last production here, last time we were full-scale mini movies making a movie was The Cowboys. But we, just a few shorter years ago, wrapped up a college trilogy, which I actually, for a long time, I've had a large dislike for it as a trilogy. Not because it's bad, but because the third movie killed a part of me. It actually melded my brain and essentially was a gun to my own creative head. And we took well over a year off from doing anything. Like I couldn't edit. I couldn't do a thing. When we got back in the podcast for a long time, I was like fighting. I don't want to edit. And here we are. Now I'm editing again. So anyway, I bring up my little story of trauma from the sweetest street. What about you, man? We raced through and Cole, you're involved in this as well, but I know I didn't shove a barrel at your head like I did for Noah with how much I had to use Luke, the character. No, what traumas do you think, if any? Again, I don't want to. You're on the spot. I don't want you to feel like you have to say something was washed away. Do you think trauma was washed away on this production from the last movie we made, The Sweetest Treat?
Um, yeah. It wasn't just because of the movie, The Sweetest Treat, but I am in agreement when that movie was over. I was like, that's probably the last time I do that. And a big part of that was we were in college. I worked at Super One. We were busy, and the production wasn't done in 3 days. It was done over a month, maybe longer,
Couple months. Yeah, no, dude,
Yeah.
we were filming from summer. It was hot as
Yeah.
hell.
Right. And so like by the end of that, I was like, okay, I don't have the time or the energy to really do something like this. So the fact that we were able to, I think, make a movie that will be of similar length, maybe a bit shorter, but of like considerable more quality,
Yeah.
and to get that shit done in 2.5 days is definitely encouraging. And yeah, it does open the door, or maybe even blows the door off the hinges a little bit in terms of like, okay, yeah, they're not all like that. And yeah, I can bring back the acting chops if I have to. So
Awesome, dude. Good. Yeah,
I'm very glad to hear that.
yeah. You haven't said that, actually kind of it opens a trauma for me. Thank you. No, I when we wrapped that, actually, I know by the time we were getting done, like actors that were in it that had been in these before, I think were me and you and Cole, and then Jack Brainard, our other co-host, and Jack, or not Jack Washington, but Cole Bauman was also in it. And I think those were our only like reprising stars from previous things. And I'd noticed the energy on the Cowboys wasn't quite all there as much. I know it was there plenty, but when we tried to get another one going the next summer, whenever the heck it was, things certainly slowed down a little bit. Or if we even did, I know talks happened, but we never really got anywhere. COVID certainly hit and kind of disrupted the whole world. And so I just, I always noticed numbers and vibes had dwindled a bit through college, which I figured was going to happen. And my only thought through college was, I just hope we can make it through college, come out on the other side of this shithole clean, and still want to do this together. Because I really am not just saying this for the sake of the stuff we do here. Like, really, the thing I love most in the world is when we get together to do this. I love hanging out with everybody, and I love movies. And when we put these things together, like, I am in pure bliss. All right, I've gone back to work. I love the job that I have. But leading up to this, I was stressed out. I was short a little bit with everyone, and now I'm back. I'm like singing down the hallways. People are annoyed with me, and it's like, hey, I'm back at full speed. So being back was great, and I did have a bit of heartbreak when it came to us making that. And you were like, you were basically half of Mystery Incorporated in Mystery of Spooky Island, because the game broke up finally. We all went our separate ways. I thought the game's over, it's done. So last year when Engen and I began talking about this, I was like, holy shit, I was excited. And when we finally started getting people involved again, all of us were getting on board, and to the point that even Walshinger was getting himself hyped up for it, and he became more and more interested. I I think I'd used the phrasing with Engen over the last year about waking up the old machine again of many movies. I don't feel like we are a machine of a movie making thing anymore. I think we are a living being with many movies. I feel a heartbeat in this movie, and not just like the start of one. I feel like a boom, boom, full flushed one. It's
Love dub.
yeah. So,
we should shout out Walshinger. Like,
oh hell yeah,
he's a big part of the glue that held this together too. Just constant great vibes, and had some awesome line deliveries. So big part of this as well.
He's just so funny to be around. And
Yep.
like when you put him he's trying to be a character that's even funny too. It's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, he himself is just one of the funniest people that I've ever been around.
Yep.
His natural physical comedy is just so
Unbelievable.
fun and
Yeah.
contagious to be around. So
it's
just seeing it.
contagious.
There was a moment where the four of us were in chairs, like right in the water, right into the lake, and Cole was filming, and he was like crouched on his knees, and he had this concerned look on his face. And Reed, you were like, Cole, are you doing okay? And Welsh just goes, "Bleh." And I don't think I've laughed that hard, and I don't even know how long it killed me. It was so funny.
Yeah. I always something hard sitting in the director's seat is when people start when Walsh and we all do it when we
People
start
break.
vibing and have a great time and people are breaking and doing like I want to put that in the movie, but it's like I know I can't keep sliding these things in there, so
Yeah.
it gets so hard when Walsh is already even funnier than what's written that
Yeah.
like having to ask him, please don't be that funny, actually. I need you to be
I
less
need you to
funny.
reel it in.
Yeah, you're too good at this. Stop. Yeah, well, good shout out to him. All
Yeah,
right.
and also kudos to the whole Welshiner gang letting us use their
For sure.
The
their
cabin, of
cabin
course,
and lake
yeah.
property as the true setting of the film.
Now, I think it's kind of got answered a little bit maybe earlier, but I was going to direct some at Noah as kind of the top of the line actor, of course. Whose acting performance was top of the line for you? Don't worry about hurting anybody's feelings here. You can announce Hick one, but other than Hick one, who had the best acting performance?
I know, like, I think the four leads, we all do our job. We're all good, all in our wheelhouse. Cole and Andy are gonna be standouts of the movie. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
Sam Lutz gives a Sam Lutz-esque performance. It was written for him, and it's gonna read perfectly. Emily is always very good in these, gives it maybe too much effort. But we talked about it already. I think the standout's gonna be your brother Connor LaRock, who brings just an energy we've never really had in any of our movies before, where he fits in super well but has his own thing about him too. Like the way he just looks with the longer hair and the purple
Yeah,
shirt and tie, and I mean the man has an actual gun in his pants, and I don't know, I think that role, if it was played by, I don't know, one of us regulars, I don't think it feels the same. I don't think it has the same gravitas as it does with Connor. So I'm really excited to see how that looks edited together. I think he was great.
It had to be a new face.
it
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
give that effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate to, I know these are our movies, but this is, I guess, what is the fifth, I suppose, mini movies with the whole crew. I guess sixth if we are including Swedish Tree. I don't want to say we've been typecast here, but we definitely have this pool of people that we can go to and we know what we're going to get. So having Connor involved, I think definitely, like, you're right. I don't think it could have been anybody. I think if we said, hey, if we were like, hey, Ryan, like you got to be the
Right.
detective, we'd be like, haha, that's Ryan. Whereas with Connor, it's, there's this little uncomfortability, for us as people having this new face, as well as in terms of like characters we've seen together on screen. We've never really seen Connor interact with the crew, and now we have.
Yeah.
So,
This it's also way too late in the episode to be name dropping Ryan for the first time, but he should get it. He should get a catering credit on this
Hell
film with
yeah.
those
Mhm.
pizzas he made, cooked us up some brats. Ryan was also a joy to have around on this production. So
he was. I forget what it was, but we had. I think it was one of the mornings, and he made a reference to the plot of the movie at one point, and he had me like cracking up laughing. Like it was just the two of us over by all the catering stuff, and I don't know what he said, if he quoted the movie or what, but I was like, dude, you know the movie already. This is great. Yeah, no,
Yeah. Shout out production assistant Ryan.
Yep.
Absolutely crucial, vital role to this entire production. So
Oh, good deal. I've got some questions for all. Nobody feel the need to answer. Nobody feel the need to be silent. So, question for everybody here: what position do you think on a future production? I guess talking more about this. There's a gap in the production crew. Acting wise, I don't think we have a single hole in the acting performances. Now, in terms of what could we have to help production along, I think there's always going to be holes. I think even that we had a script supervisor, table set up, we could have had 10 more. And, if we have 10 script supervisors, hell, we could have 10 more than that. So even if we have a position for, what do you think we need more of working on the crew? I got my answer on lock. I'll go first because everybody's thinking. A continuity person. I don't know what the title would be. We all manage continuity. We've done it in the past. Something hard in the past. Snow is a continuity nightmare of trying to make sure that we don't, we always have fresh snow when we're walking somewhere. In this, it was something as simple as making sure the scenes and the backgrounds that we're in, because we're jumping around so much, meet where we're at. And as well as making sure we have the same costumes and kind of trying to get people's like looks just quite right the same between shots. And so I really think next time we take somebody and we say, whoever the heck, you are the production person. If anything is out of line, I'll lose my mind. Not
Well,
so
it's
rude.
it's also hard because this set we were also camping on too. So like
Another
we would
thing.
set up a camp and then have to tear it down for shooting the next day and then change that all up to the next scene. So
Yeah.
I mean that was a battle that we had in this.
Certainly the next, I guess in all future productions, I will never ever let us
Sleep,
be in such
sleep
close
in the set.
proximity. I would say if we had put every single thing like on one side of the cabin and never allowed anything, like maybe that, but even still, we had some shots that I had to have us cut back a couple, and I had to check a couple because Atticus was filming. I thought, Atticus, you can see this item in the background. We can't show that. Like, and so we block it. We have like Connor's body, the chest, there's a chair leg. Like, we got it. Like, magically everything got covered up by like this puzzle of random things already there. So luckily we lucked out. In the future, if we ever film at a cabin again, we will get a second cabin for everyone to put all their stuff at. Nobody will be allowed to traverse the set unless on business. So yeah, that's something. Noah, Cole, anything that comes to mind for you fellas?
I know we have like a kind of a new microphone we used on this, so I'll be excited to see how that turns out. But I just know in the past productions, like sound is something that's not always perfect. So I hope that microphone helped. And if it, if we need a mic operator or a what's the key grip or a gaffer or whatever the hell, like
Best boy.
getting some extra sound technology could be good. But
I think we
Yeah,
will. Our
cool.
audio is, I would call it 98% perfect. There's 2% in there where the audio is good, but I'll need to edit it a little bit to kind of beef up, and transition from like somebody's talking directly in the microphone and then somebody's way the heck out here and you can't barely hear it. So kind of one of those things. It's fine, like that's natural. We just now we know. And again, a very rare thing that happens. It's just because maybe someone's looking away and they're also far away. I'd
yeah.
also say maybe walkie-talkies in the future. Not that we were ever like out of proximity, but that way we could kind of push the distance of these shots as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess this is not a crew position. I would say in the future, I would, with the same amount that we filmed, I would add 1 day of production. So that way we could slow it down just a little bit more. Because we covered ground fast and hard and we got everything and we did a very good job. But I'm curious with a little more time, what more could we have pushed? Like what other
Mhm.
shots might we have tested or ideas tried out? And we certainly did. We were able to do that a lot, ideas and trying things out, but not nearly as much as what was owed to the creative people that were on set the whole time. So I'll say that I felt like ideas were robbed. All right, any other takes on it? Going once, going twice. All right. What was the hardest part of the production for everybody? In your mind, like not just like from your own seat. What do you think was the hardest thing to get through? Or maybe if you want to answer from your own seat as an actor or executive producer or Hick one, just kidding, as big camera guy. What do you think was the thing that was like, this is gonna take a few minutes to get this thing quite right? More time on this than what other things leading up to it was.
Well,
Anything?
I think you kind of just pointed out like we had a certain amount of time, we had to get it done, but like you also want to be in the moment, creative, collaborate, get some ideas on what you want to how you want to build this shot. And we did it. We did the best we could, but like you said, what would have happened if we had just a little bit more time? Could have breathed a little bit between scenes and shots and see like, hey, what can we really bring into this? What can we build onto this to make this look, even better? So I think that's the hardest thing is just squeezing it in.
Yeah. Say that and the sunburn. Just kidding. Yeah, no, for real though. More time. Time. All right. What I don't know. Do you think this is a movie that I suppose we can label ourselves indie filmmakers. I think is a fair and appropriate title to give ourselves with this one. When this is all done and we're watching it, you're all going to say to yourselves, "I made a movie." You will say that. I know we've done it in the past. We've done short films of good quality, certainly ones that you probably say, "Oh, that's something cool we did," and like, yeah, it counts as a movie, but like you wouldn't really go around introducing yourself as like, "Yeah, I made that movie." I promise you, when this thing is edited and you watch it the first time, I bet you will have this. You won't really necessarily need to do it. I'll bet you'll be very comfortable going up to people you work with and going, "Hey, I made a movie." I guarantee you that. That is what this looks like to me. This looks like indie film success. So
Reed,
anyway,
I think you can already say that with the sweetest treat.
shoot.
I love that film. I think it looks so cool. Like it's grainy, but like that's what it is. It's a
Yeah.
Halloween thriller.
I'll have to watch it again. I really do mean that I walked away with some scars from that movie, man. That was a
It,
changing experience. No, oh,
it is an hour and 40 minutes long. That is
Please
the
allow me to introduce
it's
myself.
pretty. You know how I got hyped? I think I told this the other two. Engen, how I got hyped to make the Sweetest Street movie is when I was working on the farm. The only thing I would listen to was Tenacious D. Again and again and again to put myself in the mood to create something fun. And that's why there's that big musical number of the Rolling Stones. It was like there has to be music in this and it has to be fun and wacky. Like it has to happen. Oh, all right.
Yeah. Too bad Jack Black turned out to be such an asshole, huh?
Hey, buddy, he's watching this right now, you jerk. He's
Yeah,
looking for
you got to be
work.
careful, dude. You got to be careful.
Yeah, this is not. This is a no
Sorry.
negativity
You may get to
time.
work with him one day.
You're right. I walked that back. I walked that
I
back.
like. I'm not gonna
can't
say
believe
what
that
it
you-
is. Knock on wood.
You don't
But,
go around introducing yourself as the guy who like starred in Shithole's Nest or Billy and Margaret. You know,
I bring
like
it
hey,
up. I bring it up. When I'm in job interviews, I bring it up, not like, "Hey, I made this, watch this." And I bring it up like, "This is something I've done in the past. Like, what do you do in your free time?" "Well, I don't do hard drugs. I make movies though with my friends." And then it's like, "Oh, that's fun." So it's always anyway, enough about all that. Okay, we are coming down to the way I wanted to ask. So yeah, as a people, individuals, a lot of people make indie films. Not a lot of people, but people do make indie films. And do you guys think the average movie making person, this is something they could like recreate? Don't think big indie films like, what Whiplash turns into, but like down on our level, more the bottom level of indie films, more that foot in the door. Do you think other people could recreate this movie or recreate this production?
Hell no.
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 I think they could have elements to get it going, but like
Yeah.
I don't think they can do what we did, and certainly not in that amount of time.
Right. And there's an extra level to chemistry with people that have known each other as long as we have, all focused towards one goal, I think is a rare thing. So
I mean, yeah, Cole and I guess we've known each other for about 2 decades now, so
yeah.
yeah, we've
that's
got
crazy.
something in the tank here. All right, well, I guess does anybody have anything they really got to get out their chest or something they might be thinking about where they weren't really sure where to drop or put it or say about this particular production?
Well, just make sure to follow us, Mini Movies on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube, Ruby Wild Wheat Media on Twitter, Podcast the Motion Picture on Instagram. You can find the latest updates on all production statuses there. So
Yeah.
I'll be posting a couple production photos, kind of behind the lens photos as a little sneak peek, as you guys can kind of see what it looks like Reed mentioned with the thumbnail for this episode.
And I guess I
Is there
should
anyone
also.
that you want to thank on shout out or whatever?
Oh
Like
my
Clock Out?
God, people to shout out. Yeah, Clock Out Brewing, of course, thank them.
That was
They're
insane. That
in,
was so cool of them.
you'll find them in Grand Rapids, Minnesota. If you ever come across a Clock Out Brew, ask for it, drink it, give it a go. It's good stuff. They gave us a hefty rack of alcohol to help use as prop work as well as catering, if you will. I suppose maybe they get a catering as well. Very much thanks to them. Thank you to Frontier Sports Arco up in Marcel, Minnesota, that has all of your fishing and outdoor sports needs. Give them a check out as well if you're hanging out. Look at that. Look at us go. By the way, this is not paid for advertising. We're just shouting them out because they did give us a big hand. I do want to thank anybody that walked onto set. Thank you very much for all that you did just being there, lightening moods, maybe throwing an idea this way or that way. To everybody in the cast and crew, of course, that was there from particularly Saturday, Nightmare Day, as well as all the others. But Saturday, from what time did we get there? Like 8:15. I think Walsh and I got the boat there, his boat.
We started filming at 9 and we stopped filming at 2:30 a.m.
Yeah, so
Yep.
everybody
Yep.
crushed it along the way. I know a lot of people's families definitely were happy to help out. Some of them did, some of them were just waiting around for a call. So thank you to them. Yeah, really an unbelievably amount of just praise to the people that came in contact with this movie and came in contact with us in this time for just the effect that they definitely had on it, whether it shows through or not. Yeah. And thank you, all of you listening that have followed along. I guess as well as where you can find, as Mr. Engen brought up, you'll also find a hyperlinks in the description to the website, a website for us. Still a progress. So by the time this comes out, I'm thinking the website will be done. Anyway, if it's not, just wait around, pop back in. It's coming. Don't you worry. We'll have everything you could ever want from other videos of ours, other short films, other movies, other words on this, other things, other links, which you might need, contact information. Give it a go. Also, if you are watching this and you're thinking, I'll get involved in making these movies in the future, reach on out. Let us know. Maybe you're a good fit. Maybe you're a nightmare and maybe we don't want anything to do with you. Worst we can say is, maybe not right yet. Maybe another time. Chances are we'll probably say, oh, cool. Sounds good. We like movies too. So, again, thank you all for listening, and until next time, I suppose we'll talk about this again in a big, big way, Minnesota Nice, when the movie's edited and put together, and we've all had a chance to witness it with our eyes. We'll give a little review on here. So, thank
And
you
we'll
all for
have
listening.
some kind of public viewing in the northern Minnesota area.
Yes, we
for
will.
sure.
Yes,
So-
we will.
And
But-
we'll
We'll
come with
be
time.
locking all that down. All right. Thank you for
Hey,
listening. Take care and
Northstar Lake forever.
Northstar Lake forever. All right.
Take 2. You're the best.
Here we go. Okay, bye. That was a whole episode of the Whole Other Podcast. It's over now. The podcast is done.